Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm John.
I'm Charles.
I'm Audie.
And I'm Seth.
And here we are again.
We are here to pump you up.
And talk about all things science fiction and fantasy.
Get to the chopper.
Or at least all things we know about.
Yes. No. Our knowledge of something, our knowledge of something has never stopped us from talking about it at length.
This is true.
You know.
And today will be no exception.
Yeah.
Now, we had kind of a fun experience this week. Thursday night, there was a nationwide showing of a sci-fi classic from 1983. Some of our listeners may be familiar with the movie Krull.
Calling it a sci-fi classic is really polishing that turd, Bill.
Well,
It really is.
well, we had a choice this week. We had 2001
Yes.
because it was the
50th anniversary of 2001.
Yes, or Krull.
And we chose Krull.
Yes.
Mostly because it was live riffed by the Mystery Science Theater
Yes.
3000 folks,
Yes.
right? Which sort of made it all worthwhile.
Made it watchable.
Yes, right, right. And I remember when I saw the announcement for it, they had a quote in there by Roger Ebert when he reviewed the movie. He mentioned how the plot was, boring. The romantic leads had all the depth of cardboard and something else. And he said, but it was so ridiculous, I watched it twice. Something like that. So anyway, it was kind of fun watching it with the Mystery Science Theater 3000 crew.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you learn anything new seeing it this second time that you missed the first time that maybe would change your impression of the film? Anyone?
I would like to hear what Charles has to say because
Well,
he
no.
had a...
because I was a younger kid. I was maybe about 11, I think, when I did the math for watching Krull, and yeah, it looked to me this time like somebody let their 8-year-old write it. That's
Indeed.
So you remembered it being better as an 11-year-old.
I remember. I do remember questioning some. But I do remember it as better than.
Yeah.
But I also think it was in 3D when I saw it. I think it was my first 3D movie.
Yeah.
I can see that the glaive thing coming at you as being something that they could have sold the movie with.
Right.
I think they did. I think that was their selling point.
That was huge.
Well,
on
and
the,
I
huge
think
on the movie.
There were a
poster.
few of us, myself included, that thought the weapon was Krull.
Yeah.
Right. Versus the planet, which is the name Krull. Right.
I
And
thought
the-
the hero of the movie was Krull.
Yeah.
Aren't we all
I
inside
thought the villain
Krull?
was
You,
Krull. And
me.
they were inside Krull, I thought, for a while, but Krull is not the villain, it's the planet.
Yeah.
But it was awful. It was, I mean, the riff tracks mocking of the movie actually made it so that I didn't have to,
Commit suicide.
during
Yes.
the actual...
It kind of made me think of that, the movie Airplane, where that guy's telling his life story to that woman, and she's getting more and more bored, and finally at the end, she's hanging from a rope above her chair.
Well, it looked to me like what they took every bad plot in existence and strung them together one after another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because it's weddings, aliens, blind
Cowboys.
sorcerer, cowboy hustling the horses and corralling the horses.
Right.
Rock climbing.
Cyclops.
Rock climbing and horse riding montages that
Yes.
last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they opened
and
the
some woman
movie
that
with
killed
that.
her baby.
The first
Which was just a weird in the middle. Just like
Yeah.
why did you keep that?
Which part?
the widow in the web.
The widow in
She-
the
Yeah.
web.
She took
Killed
out
her
her
baby.
rage and killed her baby, and he was just like, "Oh, I had a son. Okay,
That's cool. Yeah.
I forgive you. I never knew the little brat."
Not a big deal to me.
It just for that was. I mean, she should have. I cheated at Yahtzee or something. Anything could have done better than I killed their baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
That's the same way for like the glaive, like for they show it at the beginning as whoosh whoosh, and then he goes on this really boring journey to get it, where he has to
Climb
climb
rocks.
some rocks in some leather pants, and then reach into
Leather clown pants.
Clown pants.
reach into what you are led to believe is lava, but then he's just like, this feels like Jell-O, and pulls it out, and then doesn't use it at the end until the end. And I mean, he
And
could have
uses
just
it-
like picked it up from his dad's bureau before he left
And
the.
tucked it into his pocket.
Well, and that's what I think as a kid, I could relate a little better to the struggle with batteries.
All right.
Well, just your toy running out of batteries. And do
Yeah.
you save it for a special occasion, or do you go ahead and play with it now?
See, they
Which
should have
is
said that. They should have said it's sitting in the lava, recharging. You've got like 2 minutes of use max.
Yeah,
Max.
right.
Yeah, and that would have made more sense. But yeah, he could have saved all those people with that glaive.
Yes.
All these people died trying to help him do all this. When all he had to do is pop out the glaive. It's like he would have taken care of all of that.
Right.
But no.
Well,
Save
but-
it for when you need it the most. Don't
But in
worry about
reality,
these other people.
he used it twice. Once he used it to cut through the membrane that was imprisoning his wife.
Yeah.
And
Which took
free her.
forever.
It took forever for something
Yep.
that was a super
Magical,
powerful glaive.
yeah.
And they didn't even try anything else first.
No.
Like,
Yeah. That's
he
like,
just knew
Right.
he needed
He
to
didn't
use
try to
the-
look to see if there was a door on the other side
Yeah.
that was maybe open.
or hit it with his sword.
Yeah.
He didn't do
Right.
any of that.
or
Like,
a rock.
or just fall
Right.
through
Yeah.
it like those other guys
And then
did.
he uses it the second time. He throws it at the beast. It lodges into the beast and gets stuck. So it's useless.
He did kill a couple scrubs with it right after he cut the wall. So, like,
My
right
first
after
thought
he
was,
uses
why
it
didn't
on
you
the wall,
kill
he's
all
like,
of them
oh,
with that?
well, it's free to use now. Where he could have just, like, used it outside the castle when they were all, like,
Getting
shooting
shot
at them,
at.
killing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Cyclops wouldn't have had to
Yeah, no,
die for
right.
reasons.
If it was magical, he should have just thrown it before entering that whole castle thingy.
Yeah.
Just
And then just guided it with his mind.
like,
Yes.
like
Like
how
a
he
Jedi.
how he spends the last
floating,
15 minutes of the movie just
viper.
in this stance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Either glaive or fire. He was doing.
Yeah,
this.
because he had fire. He could shoot fire out of his hand.
His wife gave him fire. And it's
And
like,
why didn't she destroy the beast when she had the fire?
yeah,
Right.
why can't she use the fire, and why? How is that not misogyny? But I don't know.
no, it's
Yeah.
a burning love.
Well,
It's the burning love.
what?
Yeah.
When love burns like their love burned, no one went to see the doctor.
That's right. It's gonorrhea through the hands.
Making me thinking of Princess Bride. True love.
But yeah, here's a question I have. Why in the world did the Beast even want her?
Yeah.
That was my question because
There
the
was
beast is enormous, right?
Yeah.
He's nothing like a human. He's a beast. He's some sort of alien creature.
Yeah.
It's like King Kong.
So the two of them can never consummate the wedding that he wants to
Well,
have.
Well,
I
he
don't-
could take human shape.
I never saw
could?
consummation.
Yeah, he did that. He took the
Yeah,
shape
remember he
of
took.
the...
Oh, that's
Corwin.
right.
Corwin,
That's right.
The
But-
good guy's name.
Why?
Why?
Like,
No, there was never any motive. It's like, you'll be my bride, and I will give
Well, he
you all
wanted
this. And it's like,
he wanted the fire.
do you want the fire?
I have to assume he wanted the
No,
fire.
you don't have to assume. It's like that's just they did not lay out any motives for anybody. And it's like
No.
the very beginning of the movie was like a 25-minute horse ride from nowhere for about a bunch of people we don't know
or care about.
or care.
That
we
was
have no
the army
vested
of
care
the
in
army
that.
of the beast, right?
No,
Was it?
no. That was
Oh,
Oh no, yeah. Well,
that
that's
was
right.
That was the other-
Corwin's family.
Well,
Yeah,
and their
right.
castle.
You
Really was
remember the
in
hero's
suburbs.
name? I
Yeah,
was just like the protagonist.
I know. It's like we all have shame.
What was the princess's name?
Alyssa.
Oh,
It was Lissa.
Lissa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, they were saying. I was
Because it
going
was
to
the
go
same
with.
name as the widow of the web.
I was going to go with Crawletta, but that would
Which-
have been better.
yeah.
For some reason, the widow of the web felt like after a 5-minute conversation with this guy, that she's willing to give up her life for someone who just has her name.
Right.
Well, it's like, okay, all right, that's...
Well, they apparently had a past. And
Well, yeah.
he's apparently the reason she put herself in
The reason
the middle
she killed
of
her
the web.
daughter. No.
Well, yeah,
Son.
no, it went
Son.
immediately Jerry Springer. Yeah, I killed our kid. It's like, okay.
That's a
fine.
weird...
Well, because Papa was a workaholic.
Right.
That was
With his job of what? What was his...
Gallivant.
Was his job just professional old
Krull.
man and purveyor of wisdom?
He was a connections man. You need a wizard, I can set you up.
I know a guy.
Yeah. You need a prophecy, I know a Spider Woman.
Well, he also he knew how the aliens work too. That they
Right. And how did he know that?
Yeah,
Yeah, how does
There were
anyone know
aliens.
that?
How did he know?
And
Yeah.
that they just like showed up in their rock castle and started killing people.
Yeah.
We're
Which-
never told why.
Well, and here's the thing: the spaceship, the rock castle spaceship, whatever you want to call it, every 24 hours it disappeared and reappeared somewhere else, almost like a TARDIS, right? Except with less noise. It was just silent, gone, and then suddenly it's on a prairie somewhere, or it's gone and it's in a mountain valley, or it's gone and it's in the middle of the ocean. But yet, when it's heading to the planet, it's got this huge descending scene. And as it's landing,
Yes.
tons of earth are being shot into the air because it's crushing the soil beneath it. And
Yes, but that landing scene was nothing short of a Spaceballs where you
yeah,
see the
that's exactly what I was thinking later on in the night. It's like Spaceballs, but not done for comedic effect.
It's not funny. In Spaceballs, there is Spaceball 1, the gigantic ship of the Spaceballs, and in the intro it shows the ship just continuing to keep going on, and that was part of the comic effect is that you think it's done, but it's not. It's never done. It seems it's like, and then it is, but it's.
And then you've got the bumper sticker.
Yeah,
we break for no one.
Yeah, but this is just painfully long. Rock going.
Rock.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Some more rock.
It's going somewhere.
There's a little bit more rock there. That part's a little pointier.
I bet it's going to go to that planet someday.
yeah,
Maybe today. Maybe not.
yeah.
Because if you just start like,
Like put a window on it and see like one of the little beasties like sticking out like.
Right.
All right, what's that buzzing?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Charles's phone.
No, it's not. It's off.
You touched it and it went away.
That doesn't
And it's
mean
like,
anything. Doesn't mean anything.
What is your phone radioactive?
I think it might be.
Are we
I've
all
been
going to be
having-
sterile now? Because
Yeah, well.
Not all of us.
Yeah.
I'm on this end of the table.
Yeah, just,
But as Krull was like, it was. Did they just run out of stuff to talk about? Because they seem to just use B-roll for like half the film. Just all
yeah.
those long
I
extended
think
scenes.
it just you watch that and you just go, this guy set out to make a horrible movie.
Yeah.
No, I think they probably
Spandex,
the way it seemed to
rock
me
climbing.
is it was a movie made by committee. It's like someone somewhere had an idea for a grand storyline and he sold it to a studio. And with the success of Star Wars, they were like, you need to have this, you need to have this, you need to... I mean, we can't have these space things, so we're going to have to do... you know what would be great? Horses that are on fire.
Yes.
That'll...
Well, yeah, we need more. It's
Well,
like more cowbell. We need
other-
more horses on fire. Just
Yeah.
keep it going for 10 minutes.
The other thing, as an adult watching this movie, I wondered if anybody did actually lose a finger trying to throw that
Throw
crawl
the
the first
glaive.
time. Because it looked like it's impossible to throw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why
Without losing your fingers.
No, you just couldn't. This is why, I mean, in his throws, even with it, I'm presuming it was plastic, don't look like great throws.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a weapon that's more dangerous for the user than a lightsaber,
Yeah.
it's the glaive.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's kind of telling as to how good the film was by the mere fact that the budget for the film was $47 million, and at the box office it returned $16.5 million.
Well, I think that's because of his committee thing. It's like there are people. I'd like to see all the film, like the stuff they cut too, because it's like it seems like those long
You
rock
mean
montages.
you want to see more rock
Well,
montages?
no. I don't think there
Where'd
could
they
possibly be
come
more
from?
rock
Yeah.
montages, but more rock montages, more fire horses, more riding, and it's like someone was saying we need more of this. What are we going to cut out? Oh, character development and proper segues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
You
all
might
that's
have a
gone. We
point.
can't have that.
It might be like taking 2001 and cutting it down to like a half-hour show.
You could, do
going,
that. It's like
It might not make a lot of sense at that point.
Right.
if you cut out 95% of the space scenes, you've got 2001 is like a hour tops, probably less. But
Well, and the other thing that bothered me was Lissa just running through the spaceship. There was a lot of scenes of her just walking through
You're calling
areas where there was nothing.
you're
Yeah.
calling it a spaceship, and it's like that's calling to mind like cool things. This was all right. It was in space. They portrayed it in space, and it just
It was like
landed.
it was like a flying rock castle.
It was
Yeah,
the
but-
space. It was the Beast space hobo home.
But there was no consistency to the inside. It was all. It's like they found a whole bunch of empty sets
Well, there
on
was.
at the studio, and they said, "We'll use this for this part of this."
Just like she's standing in an eyeball at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
which no one ever explained.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was no rest of the you thought it might have been a cool lead in if like later it would have panned out and that's the beast's face.
Yeah, right.
But the inconsistent is a great way to describe this movie because it couldn't decide if it wanted to be a science fiction or if it wanted to be a fantasy or because
Oh,
Why-
horse wrangling movie.
yeah, why in the world have like you've got your alien stormtrooper analogs
The Slayers.
who have
yes.
the Slayers. Why give them swords that also shoot lasers?
Yeah.
Right.
Like what's the you could have just like had this like it's just like set it on this world. Forget the space junk.
Right.
And you've got your Slayers, they have swords,
Just
they're
do a
hard to kill.
swashbuckling. Yeah.
Everyone knows that they're a threat and they're just about to conquer the world.
Yeah.
You don't need half of what they put in there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
75%.
And you don't know exactly what they do, and then they do it. And it's all right. I remember a scene. They were in the swamp, I think.
Yeah.
And one Slayer, just appears out of nowhere. Just one. And,
Looking like one of the knights who say knee.
well,
Yeah.
I think it was a scene to introduce the Cyclops into the group because he threw his spear and killed it. But no one's like, are there more? Did they radio back to their base or no one cared after he killed the Slayer? It's like, are there more? Are we in danger? It's like, no. It's just like,
Yeah. Thank you, Cyclops.
And when they
Would you like
killed
to
the
do an
Slayer,
intro? What's that?
and when they killed the Slayer, the head opened up and some screeching lasagna scurries out and disappears into the ground.
And you never see it again.
No, and doesn't explain anything. And
Yeah. It's like a slug that just burrowed into the earth. And
yeah,
What's it doing down there?
And
Making more slugs?
yeah.
did the movie have like any comedy in it? Like any like we had the stupid wizard, but he wasn't really funny.
It did have comedy in it, and the comedy was provided by the Mystery Science 3000 people.
Yeah.
there is
Other
a-
than that,
well,
there was no comedy.
I think that weird,
The magician
prairie magician that
was
they
supposed to
found
be
was
funny.
supposed
That
to be
kept turning
funny.
himself into a pig.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh,
I really think somebody just found some notes.
Yeah.
This is like it was written on
from
some
multiple movies.
yeah, on index cards of just ideas,
Yeah.
and they went. Somebody stole them, probably.
Yeah.
Went, yeah.
Maybe
This is
maybe
everything.
that guy was inserted like in the end. It's like because people are like reviewing after we took out all of the content of personal development. This seems flat. So let's throw in this
Doofus that turns
doofus
himself into a
magician,
pig.
yeah.
well, like the whole thing about the Cyclops was that he was cursed to know the day and how he was going to die, right?
Right.
And so they have that big scene where they capture the fire steeds and he's like, "No, I must stay behind. It is my time."
Yes.
And then he, of course, like shows up, and his time was really at the castle with the rest of them. Why?
Well-
Did they think that was building tension?
Yeah, I think the whole point of that was He could. The time of his death was obviously there when he gave the horses away, and I'm supposing that at that point he just died of boredom because everybody's gone and he's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
But he decides, well, maybe I don't want to die of boredom. Yeah, it'll be a much horrible, excruciating, painful death, but at least it'll be more exciting if I go join my friends. So he goes and joins his friends, and then of course he's crushed horribly trying to hold open a rock door so the last of his friends can get into the castle.
Or maybe that was he reappeared to give us hope that he's going to help out and be around. Nope, they killed him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone was always like, oh, he knows the day he's going to die. That's so sad. He leaves such a sad existence. But there's also the flip side to that, as he also knows he's not going to die in any of the stuff until he dies.
Yeah.
So, like,
So he
people
could do
coulda-
anything.
Yeah.
People could have just been like, wow, you're so brave in combat. How?
Yeah.
It's like, I know, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
the Cyclops.
Y'all are-
There's 1,000 Slayers out there. I got this.
Yeah.
So he's like, I know I'm not going to die here.
The
So-
Cyclops tribe could be the most feared warriors in the galaxy
Yeah.
because they would know no fear because they know this is
Exactly.
not my time to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did
Unless,
seem-
of course, it was, in which case you wouldn't go to that battle.
Yeah,
Or,
I mean,
or you would.
what
That's
would
right.
have
Yeah, well, maybe.
stopped them?
Right.
Yeah,
What-
he
what-
did seem
yeah.
awfully serious for a guy with that gift.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
also guessing that his facial makeup didn't allow for a lot of a range of expression.
I imagine. But I actually found him to be one of the most likable characters
Oh,
in the
yeah.
whole show.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they killed him. It's like, I mean, really, if you wanted any hope
Right.
of me enjoying this from this point on,
It's gone.
yeah. And then they did the fire thing, and it's like, I give you my fire. And it's like, it's like, man.
What you could have done that she could have done that at the very beginning of
Yeah.
the movie, and he could
Yeah.
have just like stood
Yeah.
at the top of the stairs
And
going,
roasted the Slayers.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
your friends wouldn't have died.
Right.
Yep.
"This is
Yeah.
great." Yeah, you're gonna need to see a doctor about that eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Fire hands is nothing to mess around with.
Tough acting to acting, like they said
Right.
in the show. But that was all right.
Yeah, I think we've beat that fire steed to death.
I really enjoyed the riff tracks
Yeah.
version of that. But I feel Charles was sad. I was sitting next to Charles, and it's like I saw a little misting up of the eyes as his childhood died a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's to be
That was-
expected.
There are some other really great riff tracks movies,
Yeah.
so I recommend it.
We might have to check those
We
out.
will have to check
Well,
those
that
out.
it was my introduction as a kid into the thieves, fighters, bandits, and brawlers being the good guys.
Ah, gotcha.
So you just sidestepped Willow and did this instead. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Willow's one I need to see again. It's been
Yeah,
a long time.
I would like to see Willow again. It's hard to find though.
Notable thing about Krull, though, Liam Neeson.
Yes. That was amazing. I didn't realize he was in that.
I didn't either. Very young Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
It's like spry,
Well, of course.
but yeah. No, I was happy to see that. I kind of had hopes that he just
He
basically
was the best actor in the whole
kill
movie. too.
Corwin and take over the show, but he
Right.
did not at any
Right.
point do that. So
Yeah.
sad.
Well, if his daughters had been taken,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would have been a whole different movie.
The Beast gets a phone call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If it was his daughters instead of the king's bride,
Yes.
it would have been a whole different
Is this
movie.
Krull? I don't know who Krull is, but I have a specific set of skills. Would have been a heck
It's like,
of a thing.
no, I'm not Krull. I'm the Beast. Krull's the planet. God.
You live there. It's your planet. Krull. I'm just going to call you Krull. That's how it is.
Did we name our planet?
Did we
It's
name-
on the Galactic Index. I'm from space. It
I
says
am from
planet
space.
Krull. Oh.
Right.
See, I thought that was the glaive.
Yeah. I thought it was the glaive was Krull, and you were Krull, and everyone's Krull. And okay, sorry.
That's one thing that got me in Star Trek is when they would encounter a rogue alien somewhere and they would say, where are you from? And the alien would say, well, I'm from, Galactica 5 or something like that. They would know immediately where that was, as if everybody in the galaxy was working from the same set of naming conventions for planets.
They are working with the same.
How is that possible?
Well, are you talking about species they'd never met before?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Memories have gotten better.
I mean, what did
at
the
that
Vulcans
point.
call Earth before they arrived?
Right.
And
Sol 3.
Why would they call it Sol?
that's our technical name for
I know.
for
The
Sol.
sun.
The Sol and Sol 3 is Earth, but yeah.
But just Kirk being able to keep track of his log entries was always impressive to me.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He made that stuff up every week.
I'm just saying, it's
Star Trek fans tried really, really hard to reconcile all the various star dates they threw out there in the original series, and they just gave up.
Yeah, because part of the problem was that the episodes didn't always air in order when they aired, and so sometimes you'd have a star date that was before the next episode or after the next episode, and that kind of really confused people.
I don't think there was any internal consistency, though. I don't think they cared if the next episode, if in one episode you use stardate this, and then the next one you use stardate that, and it's like stardate on the second episode actually seemed to predate the episode before. No one cared.
Well,
Now, I think what I read was that they had intended that they were all supposed to be sequentially increased, but that because the shows didn't always air in the order they were filmed in, that's where the inconsistency arose.
I think it's more fun to assume that it's Kirk that didn't care. Stardate 2564.2. I didn't violate the Prime Directive.
Yeah,
And did a great job.
Since breakfast.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
and I might have a day.
But speaking of
I
Star
might
Trek,
have a day.
it does turn out there's a musical out there.
You
Yeah.
posted it. I posted it on Just Another Nerd Thing, my nerd site. And I
Boldly
watched
go.
And it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's
And
like
it's free. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Is it better than Krull?
There's a
yeah,
little-
I
That's
actually
a
watched
low-
more of Krull than I
it
did of
is.
the Star
It's
Trek
better.
musical.
It's better than Krull.
It's a low bar to set.
Yeah, that
but-
is. That's like just taking the worst of everything and then saying, "Is it better than that?" And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, that's what I want to know.
yeah, it is. It is
All right.
better than Krull.
Okay. Because if it's the same or worse, I'm probably not going to spend my time watching. So it's better.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Honestly, like
Better than Crawl the Musical, too.
like Seth just said. Or as you
Now
know,
that would be fun to do.
oh, Krull the musical would be better.
I think it would be
Yeah.
better because you could make it a whole parody of the Krull
And those
show.
people wouldn't have to talk
Right.
ever. It's like they just have dance steps and then just do the musical thing, and then that's
I think Krull's the kind of bad that you couldn't replicate if you tried to again. Like,
Well, you wouldn't get funding for one thing.
well, if you set out to try and make it as like redo Krull in
Yeah.
any form and make it as bad, I don't think you could, because it was the sort of bad that you came by earnestly. Like people trying really hard to be good and failing so
Horribly.
hard.
Right.
yeah. And I'll bring to mind something: Rocky Horror Picture Show. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Who has anyone here seen that?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
many times,
All right,
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's a horrible movie. It's absolutely
It's
terrible.
cute. It's
As a
Never made it
movie-
through the whole thing.
As a movie,
Yeah,
but
this-
as a cultural phenomenon, it's awesome. Which is why when people try to show it on regular TV, it falls flat because you don't have the audience in there, because it's an interactive
Well-
film, the way it ended up being in the cult flick. But
It is, but
it's still better than Krull.
But it's
Krull's a low
also
bar.
like
we have
it was a
determined-
movie. It
Yes.
was made to glorify those early B movies. So I don't think that they weren't trying to come up with a plot that made sense for it. Like
Alright.
it was another. It's kind of self-parody.
Of the whole B movie
Yeah,
phenomenon.
it wasn't taking itself seriously. Krull takes itself very seriously.
it does. You're right.
Rocky Horror Picture is very, very tongue-in-cheek.
I can see that. I see where you're going with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
So the guy who wrote Krull also wrote the film Ice Pirates.
I liked Ice
Ooh.
Pirates.
I've never
Pirates.
seen it, but
You
it
haven't?
sounds-
You should. It's by today's standards, it's mildly sexist and racist, but it's
Well,
it's not as sexist and racist as Blazing Saddles, which is kind of the bar of the time you have to look at. But it's like it's entertaining. It is. It's an
Blazing
entertaining
Saddle
movie.
was supposed to be sexist and racist.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
It's an '80s movie, so you got to hold it in that the reflection of what that means. But it's like Ice Pirates was watchable,
Yeah.
and Krull was not. So
Right.
does he have anything to say about why Krull is not watchable? Because I'm sure that he didn't.
No, I'm
intend
just
for
looking
that.
at his Wikipedia page. So he did Ice Pirates, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Batman. He was a writer, and Any Which Way You Can.
Oh,
And then the director was Peter Yates.
so he can make an orangutan do things, but he can't make a human
Well-
cast in Krull.
Really?
Krull would have been better with orangutans.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
get the glaive, Clyde. Okay.
So Peter Yates
yeah.
also wrote.
That would have sped up the climbing
It
scene,
would-
too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That rock montage would have been like fun to watch.
A
Yeah.
whole lot faster, too. Just.
Um,
Although, how do you get a monkey into the? How do you get an orangutan into those pants, though?
well, you drugs.
Yeah, the spandex.
Well, you got to be careful with orangutans. They have like superhuman strength. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
they taught Clyde. Anyone who's never seen Any Which Way You Can, or any of the Clint
Any
Eastwood-
which way you can, or
Any
any
which
way
way-
which way
Any
you,
which way but loose.
Yes.
But they in one of the scenes, Clyde rips a car door off, and they actually taught Clyde how to do that. And they didn't alter the car door. Orangutans can naturally rip car doors. They have like they're stronger than
So
any-
like Wookiees.
They would have. We don't know how strong Wookiees are.
Would they let the
Well,
Wookiee
Wookiees are
win
very
at a game of 3D chess?
Would you? It's what? Here's what happened. They taught him how to do it. Rip car doors off. He started going all the way through the sounds, through the studio lots, ripping car doors off. And how do you stop that? How do you stop? You don't.
Tranquilizer dart.
They didn't happen to have any on hand, so they just let him rip car doors off until he got tired of it.
Taught him it was a good thing, and
It raised the budget of the movie a little bit,
this,
but yeah.
This makes sense to me now. This Krull was a vengeance movie. It was, somebody said, no orangutans. Well, I'll show them.
I'll show you.
I was gonna say, is that how Planet of the Apes began? You teach one orangutan that it's fun to rip car doors off, and
And
They
next
say,
thing
you
you
know,
know,
they're
they have
running the
a
world.
civilization, and
Yeah.
they run the world.
I think Planet
Well
of the Apes
done.
was quite a bit before Any Which Way You Can or Loose or whatever.
It was.
before Krull.
we can
too.
reboot things however we want. now.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a very fine cautionary tale. Planet
It's
of the
great, great
Yeah.
movies. Great set.
The director of
The early
Krull
ones.
also directed Mother Jugs and Speed.
Apes. And we'll forgive people for all kinds of things because we watched Krull. I mean, we will. But
And that last
You
movie,
learn by failing.
that last movie was an excellent movie.
no, we don't.
Mother
It's
Jugs
like-
and Speed.
Yes.
Because
Because of Raquel
we went
Welch.
and
Forget
watched- we
everybody
watched
else.
it again.
Raquel Welch is in it.
we did.
Well, I
Younger.
mean,
Yeah.
they learned by failing. Like we watched their movies and we learned.
So are you saying Krull had to happen or Ice Pirates wouldn't?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
All right.
Like any author has to write some very bad books before they write a good book.
Well, Ice Pirates had some really interesting concepts in terms of society, a dystopian society without water and time travel. They actually do time travel very well in this movie. But it's like, if this is the guy that wrote Krull, I mean, I'd like to see the original script.
I'd like to see it too because
Because that's not what, I'm sure that's not what came through. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Did they just buy the name Krull from him? Took a script. It's like, oh, we'll do none
who's
of
this
that.
Krull guy? He sounds really
Who's
interesting.
Krull.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's Krull. He's the bad guy. No, we're going to make that the planet. Yeah, but we won't tell people. Because they didn't. Did they?
They mentioned it once at the beginning. They said Planet Krull.
Planet Krull.
And that's the only time anyone said Krull.
Yeah. I think what happened was somebody submitted the script for the movie, and another guy read it, and he wrote on the top crap, but his writing was so poor it looked like Krull, and somebody said, "Oh, he wants us to film this."
Well, I think we finally beat that horse to death.
Yes.
What else do we
Well,
want to...
so we were talking just a few seconds ago. Sean mentioned books that you have to write crappy ones before you get to the good ones. Well,
My name is Seth, by the way.
Yeah.
What'd they say?
Sean.
Again.
You keep calling me Sean.
You look like a Sean to me. I don't know why that is.
I'm not a Sean.
One of these days I'll get it right. Well, on our chat group, your nickname is
And
Seth,
don't-
a.k.a. Sean.
I don't think that helps.
No, it's
I
confusing
think you
me
should
more,
probably
maybe.
change that
Yeah.
because you just can't.
Yeah, I can't get over it.
Yeah.
Gotta make you write it down 50
Yes.
times on
Yeah.
a chalkboard.
Right. Smack me with a ruler.
So we're going places now.
Yeah. So anyway, back to books. The Foundation series by Isaac Asimov is apparently just got a direct-to-series order from Apple TV. So, John, your favorite pet peeve, another paywall. But,
It's kind of shared by our listeners
Yeah.
because we talk about things behind paywalls all the time.
right.
But I understand. It's like all the good stuff's behind paywalls now.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do?
So this is the second sci-fi series we've seen. We talked about Apple filming recently. The other one is the one where the space race hasn't ended; it's still continuing. And where are we with that space race? And so
I
that
like
sounds like
the
an
idea.
interesting series.
I
too.
love that idea.
Well,
Yeah.
I love the idea of Foundation. If they don't go, don't be cheap about it, because it's never been done, probably for that reason. And
Yeah.
it's like if you're gonna do it right, because it's really a foundational series. It's like one of the cornerstones of science fiction.
Yeah.
And if you want to play with in this sandbox, do it right.
Well, Apple could lose $200 million and never miss it.
Well, then I hope that's what they put into this because
Yeah.
it's the storyline is awesome. I'm not sure where they're going to end though because there's like so many Foundation books and they all like the trilogy seems to fit together. You kind of need to keep going, but we'll see.
I think what we're seeing now with all these different pay sites from Netflix and Apple and Disney and Amazon with The Expanse, it's almost like a science fiction gold rush where everybody's trying to get in and buy up these really good properties to encourage.
Because of the article I gave you.
Yeah. So why don't you?
The Westworld backlash one.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about that?
It's Westworld has received a lot of nominations for being a good show, but also a lot of criticism, apparently, from some people that they find it hard to watch sometimes, and
Because they don't like the fact that you have to watch every show in order to keep up with
you
the
cannot
mythology of what's
miss
going on.
a show. It's
Yeah.
like because you've seen this whole series. Could you?
No.
If you miss a show, if you miss one show,
You wouldn't understand. You'd miss some stuff.
you'd miss stuff that you're
Yeah.
actually it's
Which
going to
I
be
love.
referenced. I do. I love the
Yeah.
continuity of Westworld, but if you don't, then you're not going to make it. And it's
Right.
like, and we talked about Star Trek, the original series, and how each show stands alone. You
Right.
don't need anything else to follow each show.
Right.
And we came to the conclusion it has to do with the VCR era and how people can record and then watch later. A technology which has only gotten better
Right.
over the last 40 years. But it's like now you can DVR
Yeah.
and watch later.
Or stream live.
Yeah.
So it's like now
Which-
we've got people that are just intellectually lazy. And
I
Yeah,
don't,
I mean-
I don't think my sci-fi entertainment should be based on No Child Left Behind
Right.
rules. I, mean,
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
If you can't follow it, that's tough.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you have access to watch Westworld,
Yeah, then
you've got HBO. You've got the ability to watch every show.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Like, if you've got the show that you like watching, why are you complaining about missing episodes that you have access to?
Right. I don't
It's
get
like-
that at all.
I can understand being confused if you accidentally mix them up and go, oh, I don't know where I am. But then why not
Right.
just go back and watch it? I
Exactly.
don't understand how it's getting criticism for this. It's like back when Babylon 5, this was criticism leveled against Babylon 5 back in the 90s, and
Sure.
that was valid when,
You didn't have streaming and
yeah, you missed a week, you missed that week until you
Right.
got to see the reruns.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or just go and get the one episode of Krull.
Yeah.
Yes,
Or-
and just
yeah.
watch that over and
There-
over.
there-
over.
you
And
know,
use
that's
it to help
something
you fall
Krull has
asleep.
going for it. There is, if you miss any, you could fall asleep in the middle and still get the same content out of it. You literally could. There's nothing. You would miss nothing in terms of your overall understanding of Krull.
This is true.
Even with the riffing, I almost fell asleep during one of the travel sequences.
They got
Yeah.
long. It's like, man.
Yeah.
But all
I
right.
actually got up and left for a bit, take a break, came back, didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
No.
Well, another part of the problem with the Westworld thing is that it appears people don't want to pay attention, and they keep having to like rewind because they miss stuff, and stuff they don't even know until they get to the next episode.
And you know what I blame that on? People
Smartphones.
people can't put their damn phones down.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Because,
probably it,
You know,
partly.
I
But
have
It
I have-
had Westworld had. They're all wacky doodle theories, but they kept injecting real wacky doodle consciousness theories that are actually out there and people have written papers on, and they're presenting. To me, that's really cool,
yeah,
even if it's complicated.
right.
But even if there's still some mysterious stuff, but I can see people being frustrated. But there's other things.
Well, if you can't put your cell phone
There's
down
enough 80s
and
sitcoms
dedicate your
out there.
attention to the show, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't complain about it because it's your own fault.
Especially if you know that there's stuff in there, you're going to have to be
Yeah.
paying attention so
And
that
so-
you can understand it later.
Right.
It's people begging for more simplistic fare. It's like this is too hard for me because I literally can't take.
Because I can't take my eyes off of Facebook.
Yeah. I
And
can't.
now we start to sound like old geezers.
No. It's although this is
off my lawn.
Although this is a big problem today, it's like this. It's not a matter of sounding like old geezers. It's a matter of there's a serious problem with cognition
Yeah.
in this country now. In all the Western world, in all the post-industrial countries where these phones are happening, it's like we're finding people that are incapable of comprehending simple things simply because it takes a
know if that can
limited
be
amount of time.
You're just not allowed to say that science fiction is too complicated.
Yeah.
You
You're just
are-
not allowed to do
You
that.
are allowed to do that, but there's consequences to what you say. If you say that, it means I know that you don't have the attention span to actually pay attention to what's going on around you. And there's a lot of people who can't pay attention or be bothered to pay attention to what's going on around them.
Yeah,
Their attention span is too short
they're
in many cases.
Yeah, they're leveling the criticism at the show as this is, I have to pay, like, they're leveling the criticism at the show for being too complicated when really they aren't paying attention. So it's not a show problem. It's they want something they can read Facebook to and still follow along with.
Yeah, or they're getting embarrassed at the water cooler. I mean, that's a problem.
Right.
If the water cooler conversation is
how-
just too complicated.
Well, wait, can you describe how they're getting embarrassed at the water cooler?
I'm just assuming.
Well, no, it's like how.
Well, because maybe their friends are talking about the show and they're like,
I
didn't see
couldn't
that
follow
part.
it. Yeah, they just go, I can't follow it, and their friends are like, well, you're an idiot.
Well, then that's a them problem too, because all
It
they
is.
have to do is go,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. Yeah,
Like what I do here
I was going to say
sometimes.
So, speaking of attention spans, here's an article right here. It came out this year. Excuse me.
It's not a long article, is it?
No, just basically, Microsoft came out and said consumers' attention span is now less than that of the average goldfish.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how they measured that.
yeah. How are they
Yeah.
measuring that?
I don't know how they're measuring that, but it said no wonder the content creators are being asked to create work that lasts all of a few seconds, shorter than an Instagram story, more fleeting than Snapchat. Whichever way you choose to look at it, it's clear that the effects of our increasingly digitized lifestyle has made us into speed daters of storytelling.
They
And I
must have
think
measured
that's-
blinking.
That's the problem. You know, and I don't know about you guys, but I like the more complicated, involved stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want, you know, little.
And I think a lot
Something
of
that
people,
we told
I
in
think
seconds.
most people, Westworld is popular. And that is not catering to this particular
Well,
trend.
and The Expanse is
Yes.
popular.
Yeah.
And
Game of
it's a fairly
Thrones.
in Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, there's a so the long form stories have become more popular as we've gone along.
I have to admit that I also like dialogue.
Yes, right.
I
You
think
said
that's-
that like you're ashamed.
Well, I do. It's
It's
almost like shameful. But
Why?
because all these movies, you go to these movies, and there's no dialogue. It's all action,
Action
action,
and
action,
special
action, and a
effects.
couple. They don't even have witty.
Repartee.
What movies are you going to?
The
Okay, well,
latest
let's say Mission
superhero
Impossible.
movie.
Transformers.
Was a great dialogue. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, the new one. But
Mission Impossible.
Wait,
It was pretty action packed show.
it's pretty action. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Okay.
I miss dialogue.
Probably means little dialogue. So, yeah. And it's not designed to be an intellectual stretch.
right.
It's
No.
designed to be flash and pack. And
Right.
do
The
all
original
things.
series that it was based on was very intellectual.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It
More
was.
so anyway.
Well, it's like, but you got to
So
remember the day. The original Mission Impossible series, they didn't have special effects.
Right.
So actors had to act.
Yes.
They had to
Yes.
make you believe that something was happening rather than just showing you.
But
the
that's
CGI.
something I miss in general. I like the dialogue.
That's why I like the original series Star Trek. It's like you can call William Shatner ham, and he is, but he can make you see things that aren't there with his face. He can act like there is something that's really happening, and they're color people like at baseball games. The people who talk on the radio about the baseball game, they're color men. They paint a picture for you like you can see it, and the old actors they sold you that they were in space. When they're like, quite obviously, when you look at it on a rather small soundstage, but you felt it. It was there.
Yeah.
And now the actors don't have to do that. All they have to do is actually CGI in what it is that they're supposed to act like they're seeing.
But you know, in my mind, I think it would be tougher to be an actor today because you're acting in front of a green screen. You don't have the sets that the actors had in those days. And granted, the sets were more simplistic because they didn't have the budgets for them. But you still had a set. You felt like you were on the bridge of the Enterprise, right? Whereas today, you may have a partial set and the rest of it may be green screen and CGI
Yeah, but
stuff.
they have acting and emotion coaches that tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. And it's like they'll watch your face and say, oh, that's the face we want to see.
Yeah.
Have you?
And-
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, please.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen Benedict Cumberbatch doing motion capture for Smog?
No.
It is fantastic. He is into that role 100%.
And he is an excellent actor.
Mhm.
He is. He's top notch. He truly is. But I mean, really, it's like there's no need to act. It's like acting today is different than acting was 50 years ago. Just like being a musician. It's like now it's like popular musicians are more like choreographers than they are, because there's dance routines involved in today's concerts. When I used to go to concerts, it's just musicians standing up there in varying states of consciousness, playing music, and no one expected any dancing.
Or
It's like,
lasers. No one expected lasers.
yeah, no one
on-
expected lasers. It's like,
I kind of think that like saying that something is different than it was 50 years ago is should kind of be
Heavy-handed,
taken
but
as a given, but it doesn't mean that like that's not just like
oh no,
pop
I'm not
music.
saying one is better or one
Yeah.
is worse. I'm saying that this is the way it is, and now you have the top pop artists have extensive choreography in their dances, and it's like, in fact, you're finding a lot more musicians getting caught. What do they call that? Voiceovers.
Auto tuning.
Yeah.
No. Where they're not
Lip
singing.
syncing.
Lip singing. Yeah.
Ah.
Because these choreographies are brutal. They can't. You can't. There's a limited amount that a respiratory system can do, and you can't sing
And stay in tune.
and stay in tune while
In those outfits.
You're doing a massive in those outfits while doing a massive aerobic workout. And it's like you can't have it all. You just can't. So, but we're sending them out saying you can have it all. And it's like, I don't know. I just remember the days when movies were, this is old man right here, Audie.
Yeah.
I'm going to go old man. It's like when movies were plausible.
Yeah.
Because like Mission Impossible is not plausible, not even in the slightest. There's no way any of that could happen. Not any part of that can happen ever in any of those movies. But it's fun to watch. But I just remember the days when you could see an action adventure and you could see people doing things that you actually could do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like now it's all impossible. It's just that's my old man moment for the day, I suppose.
Yeah.
Carry on with your normal fare.
Now you had something about Netflix too, right?
I did. What did I have?
New series on Netflix? Or no, they were gonna.
Kevin, no. I got this, and I'm digging, and I cannot find it.
Netflix. I believe the story was Netflix is looking to make
Marvel
Marvel
no,
and Lord of the Rings
that up
stuff.
there. You
Yeah,
have it
that
on
was
the-
your
on our
story.
screen,
Yeah.
and it's like, so yeah. Well,
Yes.
they are. They want to make Marvel-esque, top-notch box office release without the box office.
Right. So superhero movies,
Superhero movies,
fantasy movies, top-notch stuff, and movies to bring their movie game up
Yeah.
to where their
Which they
TV
did.
series game is now.
Yeah, with Bright, they did a pretty good
Yes.
job with
Mhm.
that.
And
Will
they're looking
Smith.
to make a sequel. We just read
Yeah.
that to
And
Bright.
But it's like this is what's left. It's like it is obviously to me an attempt for Netflix to remain relevant, to gobble up the crumbs that Disney has left other entertainment venues to pursue. And it's like there's a lot of Marvel properties that Disney does not have because Marvel sold a lot of rights to a lot of people in the 90s, I think it was. And done correctly, these could be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. It's like, but to me, it is an apparent attempt by Netflix, and you're going to see this from other places, trying to stay relevant,
Right.
trying to stay in business.
Well, I think that's the reason Apple's getting into these couple of sci-fi programs that we mentioned, right?
Hmm?
But trying to stay relevant by buying old stories.
Or making new ones. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, no, well, I know, but that's not what the article. The article's about buying old
But new stories.
buying old hats.
Yeah, the Foundation has an older crowd base that still remembers it, but it's like there's going to be a
Well,
lot
that's-
less speculative fiction in the future because they don't know if it'll sell. They can't be sure, and in a world where Disney owns just about everything, you can't roll the dice anymore. We're seeing the days where speculative fiction, new fiction, is going to go by the wayside in favor of let's do a reboot of this, for whatever reason. We might see Krull get rebooted.
oh,
That'd be
that's almost a safe bet. We watched Ready Player One last night, and they had the glaive from Krull in it.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
It's part of our cultural, heritage.
Mm-hmm.
No one probably knows what it's from, but people have seen it.
It's the name recognition
It
that
is.
they're buying.
I think that Peter used it on Family Guy once. He had the glaive. And it's like people see it. People know that it's science fiction, fantasy. They know that it's part of popular culture, while not knowing exactly what it is. And if they found out, they'd be so sad because Krull is so bad. But
Now, if at a sci-fi convention somebody was selling at because they always have those knife and sword vendors. If somebody was selling
yeah.
a glaive, would you buy one?
I know.
No.
I
Oh, I like my fingers.
I actually
like my
know.
fingers.
Exactly.
I know one of the bigger vendors that does that. His name's Tom, and it's like I'm gonna ask him if he has a glaive because
Yeah.
I bet he might not bring it to shows, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't have access to glaives.
Yeah.
I mean, with all
You'd
the
think
other
it's
things,
got to be out there.
it's got to be
How
there.
would you even use that thing?
It's not a use. It's like we
How would you
before
display
this
it?
show, No, before this show, we kind of as you can see here, there's a sword on the table that Audie has brought, and we started talking, and Linda, Bill's wife, was like, "What's this sword?" It's like, nerds do swords. And then Bill went and grabbed his off of the rack. I have a katana sword set at home. None of us use these swords for anything other than display because it's something nerds do. Nerds have swords. They do. And what is the ultimate sword is the glaive. Especially since I'm sure the ones that Tom sells press a button and they automatically extend by themselves. And it's like, you can't do anything with that. You can't. In fact, there's a fair chance you'll hurt yourself just activating it. But it's like, it's nerd cred. It's just like, that is just, it doesn't matter. And in fact, most of the people, if Tom has this, which I'm sure he does, most people who buy it don't know where it's from to their pleasure.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it's nerd cred. It is. It's just, it's something that's part of popular culture.
That is fair. I will kind of counter your point. Like, I can definitely see with these properties that like companies have to invest millions in before they know it will be a success, that we're going to see a lot more reboots. But this is also a time where a whole lot more people than ever have platforms to create on.
Like such as?
Independent authors on through the various channels.
No. There's plenty of creativity. Yes.
Yeah, just more is being created, more is getting out there. So,
but
I mean,
maybe,
The
maybe
Expanse.
fiction.
The Expanse is an example of a new series that got
And
made.
so is Stranger Things.
The Martian.
Altered Carbon.
Yes.
Altered Carbon.
I've enjoyed
And
that.
all of these, everything you're talking about predated Disney's acquisition of Fox, which changed the whole game because they have like over 50% of everything.
But
and now you're going to see less speculative fiction because Disney doesn't have to care because they keep throwing up stuff that people will watch anyway, and the rest of them will have to be very targeted with the stuff they do put up because they won't have any excess capital to waste.
But there will be places we can go to see new things.
Where?
Apple just
Apple,
announced
Netflix.
the new show, the Space Race, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's new.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
But see, the space race, well,
Let's hope it lasts as long as the actual space race.
Yeah, you know that not even everyone at this table was probably of an age to really remember the space race. So it's like, it's a very targeted... Yes, you are, Audie. You and Bill.
Audie remembers the formation of dirt.
But it's do you see, it's like, given the historical context, making it relevant is going to be tough. Keeping an audience is going to be tough, especially since all these studios, Netflix, Apple, HBO Go, all the others,
Amazon
are going to keep
Hulu.
popping out stuff, and it's like, it's all screaming at a bunch of people who we discussed earlier don't have an attention span to begin with. So it's an uphill climb for everyone who's not Disney, because Disney's at the top, and they'll just release whatever they want, whenever they want, and if they run out of money, they'll throw out another Mickey Mouse or Star Wars film, get a little cash. Because even though they whine, it's like about like Solo. But Solo they did that to themselves, but it's like the other independent Star Wars films, Rogue One. There was another one. Was there?
Yeah, Rogue One and Solo are the
Rogue
only
One,
side stories.
well,
I
Rogue
think.
One made like a cool $1 billion. Mm-hmm. It's like, they have that. That's tucked into their little pocket. It's like, it's like, hey, we want to spend some money, but we're short. Oh, we'll just release this. We'll just release one of these. It's like, and it's like I could complain about being played like that, but if they put up an Obi-Wan movie, I'll cry. I'll be very happy to go. Shut up and take my money. I want to see that movie really bad.
More lightsabers, please.
But the other venues,
or it's a plot by some corporate overlord to destroy all superheroes or beliefs in them by inundating us with like too much good guys.
and well,
Charles's
Until we've
conspiracy
given
hour.
up.
I have heard that DC may be heading in a villain direction because they've kind of failed with their superheroes.
Well, they haven't done a great job
They
with
have
the
not.
villain side of things
But,
either.
but they haven't done any real. They have DC has the best villains. DC has the Joker. DC has Lex Luthor. DC has really powerful, deep characters, and I'm hearing that they might be trying to stretch out in that direction, which would be interesting. I'd like to see the other side portrayed, but again, that's DC's running its own thing.
So it would be the evil character as the star of the show, and he would
I'm
be
all for that.
he would win
Yeah, well, win
in the end.
In the end, no one wins in DC or Marvel. It's like they just like good defeats evil or evil runs away, and then they just keep doing it over and over again. I guess the people who lose are the general population who has to deal with the collateral damage of the superheroes. But yeah,
New York would suck to live in.
it would.
Yeah.
It would. In fact, they had a little series. I think it was on Fox called Charmed. I think about superheroes. No, it wasn't Charmed.
No,
what was that?
it was,
Charmed was 3 witches.
What was that movie? It was a TV show about living in a city with superheroes and supervillains and actually dealing with the collateral damage.
Really, the maintenance guy finally has it and starts killing off super.
That is the origin story of more than one supervillain in the Marvel
Yeah,
universe, anyway.
Thought you had a maintenance guy.
Yeah, some repair guy who just gets sick of repairing all the things that get broken.
Oh,
Becomes gets his
that's-
hand on some technology and becomes a supervillain.
Isn't that how the Incredibles started?
Kind of. Well,
They were
the
heroes
supervillain
were
was
outlawed.
the supervillain was rejected by the hero.
He was a fanboy. Who
Yeah,
got
he was
rejected.
a fanboy of the hero who told.
Well, no, they were ordered to stand down
Yeah.
because of all the collateral damage that the
they
city
did.
had to pay for.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters, too.
Yeah,
Similar story.
Yeah.
Well, they do. Superheroes cause a great deal of collateral damage. Like I guess they wanted New York wanted to sue the Avengers at the end of the first Avengers movie
Oh yeah.
for all the damage. Where are they? Who's going to fix this? It's like you will, and you'll be grateful because they stopped an alien invasion from killing everybody.
Yeah.
But
And the government from nuking the whole city.
we didn't talk about that. Yeah, where did that missile come from? Don't know. But all I'm saying is we're going to see a clamp come down on speculative fiction, in my opinion. And yes, right now HBO is doing Westworld and what else do they do? Game of Thrones. And Amazon's going to do these 2 new things that they're going to do. And we're seeing like new things now. But this all these projects started before Disney acquired Fox.
I'm going to disagree. I think they've just bought a bunch of tulip bulbs, and that's just what it is.
They're just going to stick them in the ground, see what survives.
Well, it's just they've paid a lot of money for concepts that you don't. You can recreate the concept and put a different name on it, and a lot of us would be just as happy.
Fanboys are fanboys.
Well,
I know that all they have to do is make a semi-decent Fantastic Four movie, and it'll make well over $1 billion. They'll go see it. If they incorporate X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, billions of dollars. There's lots of money just waiting, and they don't have to work too hard for it either. They really don't. It's like they'll recoup the Fox money in very little time because they have the tools to integrate all the things that all the fanboys have been dreaming of. Like me.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I would eat up a good Fantastic Four movie. I will definitely go and see a X-Men movie that is integrated into the MCU.
Yeah. Yeah, you will. Yeah.
I want the Deadpool Spider-Man crossover.
Yes. I do too, and I'm not ashamed. It's like I'll say it, and I was like, if I have to support the complete destruction of original fiction, to see that, okay.
So you keep saying the complete destruction of
Yes.
original fiction, but
Watch.
there's so
I
much
think-
more.
I think
Watch,
people are
watch, just
still-
watch. I'm just saying, it's a cautionary tale. Just watch. What's
I
going to
think
happen.
people are still going to write books,
They're gonna
science
write
fiction
them,
books.
but nobody reads anymore.
I'm sorry.
I still read.
I read a lot. I'm writing.
Right. He's a reader and
Yes.
a writer.
Yes.
Yes.
I know tons of people who are both reading and writing.
Tons.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Are you talking about?
Tons of people, just like measured, you put them all on a scale and they weigh tons.
Are they big people then?
No, fairly small people.
Okay,
In,
all right.
in aggregate,
Well, an aggregate. Okay.
But no, reading is reading's not dying.
Reading is fundamental. The more you know.
Yeah, it's not dying, and like
No,
Amazon
people
is
have to read, but a lot of people aren't reading.
I think there's also a large audience that's ready for more intellectual things. That's why
Yes.
Westworld
Yes.
and The Expanse and some
Stuff
of these
like
other
that.
series are
Succeeding.
successful.
yeah. I mean,
I think that HBO is dealing with it the way that restaurants deal with comment cards. It's like no one usually leaves a good comment card. No, out of the
Right.
99% of people, 99+% of people who have pleasant dining experiences, they don't fill out a comment card saying, we had a good time.
Right.
It's always those people that didn't have a good time
Right.
that put in the comment card. So when I think that the
So they're
HBO
weighting it
boss-
accordingly.
yeah, it's like there's some people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot of people, and I think they said that in the article. It's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't agree that the backlash was widespread, which is basically saying,
mhm.
yeah, it's just it's the people
Well, the complainers talk the loudest
Yeah.
too.
they do.
Well, the last thing I wanted to mention, because we're just over our hour-long show here,
Because
so we
that
got
clock worked so well this time. It's
It did.
What? Where did it come from? It was gone. It was not there.
It's kind of
It's
magical.
magic.
No one can actually see us complaining about
It
this.
only shows when you look at it.
No, I've been looking at it all day.
Maybe not you.
But
Well, anyway, the last thing I wanted to mention was Roddenberry Entertainment. You're probably familiar with Gene Roddenberry. Roddenberry Entertainment just put out a short film based on a concept that they're exploring. The short film is called Instant, and
Sounds short.
yeah, and it's an interesting short film. It deals with time travel, and in this particular short, it's kind of takes place. All the action takes place inside of a bar, and there's one guy in the bar who is from the future, and he's there in the bar, and when the short opens, it's like they've just finished trivia, one of those electronic trivia games or something.
sounds like a Twilight Zone episode,
Well,
which is cool.
yeah, and anyway, so they finished it, and so they all pose for a picture, and so all of the people in the bar know themselves except for this one guy who's new, who helped them.
I've seen this one on the History Channel.
Yeah, who helped them win the trivia, and then so they want to play another game because there's another group of trivia players that challenge them specifically, and so they want to play another game. They want this guy to help them, stay and win the other game. The guy says, "No," he says, he keeps looking at his watch. He said, "No, I really got to go. I really got to go," and so he's saying goodbye to one of the guys, and it was really good meeting you, and glad we had this opportunity, kind of a thing, and he starts to leave, and but he took a little bit too long, and all of a sudden, a guy bursts into the bar with a shotgun, and the sounds of police cars getting louder as they surround the bar, and you can see flashing police lights through the windows, and so this guy's, on the lam from the law for something he did. And so eventually what happens is it goes on, they play a few games. One of the games they play is a hypothetical game. And it's to pass the time while they're waiting for the police to figure out, and this guy to figure out what he's going to do. And so one of the older guys in the bar, he comes up with a scenario, and everybody's like, "Oh no, we've done that before. We need something new." And somebody else throws out something, and "No, we've heard that one." So this new guy, he throws out a scenario, and he said, "Okay," he said, "Well, imagine you're a time traveler, and you can go anywhere in time, where would you go? And they said, well, we need more, bounds around this. And he said, well, you can't go anywhere in time and space. It's not Doctor Who. You can go anywhere in time on Earth, but no matter what you do, nothing you do will change what happens in the past. You can't affect the past.
You mean the future?
You can, if you go back to the past,
You can't affect
you
it.
cannot, kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? You cannot change the past. You can go back and you can observe any moment in time that you want, but nothing you will do will have any effect. Time will play out as it's meant to play out. Where would you go and what would you do? So they have discussions. Well, I'm going to go see the birth of Christ, or, I want to go back and see something in World War II or whatever. And so turns out, as this event plays out, the guy who's telling the story, and he was having this close connection with one of the guys that was there. Well, the guy that was there ends up being a struggle for the weapon, and that guy who was in the bar gets shot, and he's going to die. And it turns out that the guy who came back is his son from the distant
Can't
future.
refer to everybody as the guy.
Right.
Yeah, we're
Well, no,
losing
the
track
guy-
of guys.
I'm like,
It's
you're
confusing.
losing me, Bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure why
it's
the
like
story-
I'm phasing
but,
out, but
Anyway,
really,
so what it is this guy eventually, he's come back from the future.
The time traveler.
The time travelers come back from the future
okay.
to meet his father, because he never met his father because his father died before he was born. And so it to me seems like an interesting series if this series is all about going anywhere in time, knowing that you can't possibly change anything.
So the-
where would you go? What would you observe?
The time traveler paradox is not in effect.
Right.
It's like the dangers of going back in time is that you'll change the past and therefore change the future, therefore just possibly destroy your own self.
Correct.
So
That's off the table.
So yeah, and I'm not sure how, but it's like if that is the case, then
Yeah.
that would be a very interesting series. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see all these guys because there's so many guys.
There's so many guys in
So
this
many
show.
guys.
So many guys.
There's a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a time travel machine.
Yeah. No, I like
There's
it.
a guy who dies.
There's a
Who-
guy with a
who-
wife who dies.
So this is Roddenberry Entertainment.
Yes.
Do
It
they have
is.
their is it their own little platform or do they put it out through somebody?
It's
or?
out on YouTube,
Okay. Okay.
so you can go see it on YouTube.
Oh, it's there.
Called Instant. Yeah.
All right. I will want to
Yeah.
take a look at that.
But yeah, but no, a great use of time travel is to go back and be really good at trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Could just
Ooh.
be in everything.
Really impressive. Just go to
Right.
bar
Yeah,
trivias.
win those
Right.
free cheese sticks
Sticks,
every
yeah.
week. Yeah.
Oh,
But
wouldn't
you
that drive
are
you crazy,
affecting
though?
the future because you get the cheese sticks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Wouldn't that drive you crazy though?
To the
You
future.
go back in time, you see what actually happens, and nobody believes you because you can't prove what actually happened.
Right, because the official version of history is different than what you
Yes.
saw.
No,
Yes.
you could,
That
you
would
could
be
bring a little
interesting.
camcorder with you.
Well,
I mean,
that's
if you're
true.
not
If you're going
affecting
back to the
anything,
modern
If you
time,
can't
yeah.
possibly affect anything, right?
Yeah.
yeah, just go back with.
Although
Yeah,
if you
guys-
bring a camcorder back to the Salem witch trials,
Well, they'll burn you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, in that
Yeah.
case, you can also bring a gun. Just be like,
Now, yeah. Now the
But
one
then-
thing they
then
didn't
you'd be
say,
do
changing
what you
the
guys were
past.
gonna
So,
do.
yeah.
I'm fine over here.
yeah, the one thing they didn't say is if the past could affect you.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I imagine it can.
You would think.
It would affect him emotionally, at least. Maybe
Well,
his
sure.
dad.
Your death in the past wouldn't affect the future in any way.
Right.
In fact, you'd still be born until you went back to die in
Right.
the past. And so,
Right. But
So yeah.
yeah. So you'd be at risk going back. You could
Well,
be
that
at
sounds
risk.
cool. I like
Yeah.
that. I do. I like that. Should we all watch that? And
We'll
talk
screen
about
that after the show.
it, talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
I like that.
Well, on that note, folks, thanks for joining us again for another exciting episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Bill,
I'm John.
I'm Charles.
I'm Audie.
And I'm Seth.
or
That's-
Sean.
That's five
No,
guys.
just
right
Seth.
there. There's five guys right there. Just guys. They're just
Five
so many-
guys.
There's so many guys.
I'm a guy.
I'm
We
a
should
guy.
open up
Yeah.
like a burger and French fry shop.
Yeah.
That's what
There's these
I'm
guys
hungry
and
for
there's that
burgers
guy.
now.
It's guys. It's just a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, folks.
Ciao.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.